Why hello there and welcome back to Let's Make Us a Character. And in this episode I am finally getting around to Pathfinder Second Edition. As mentioned in my previous video, Pathfinder First Edition is a game that I have a lot of experience with, and Pathfinder Second Edition is something I am checking out for the first time. And as such, there is going to be a bit more running commentary than usual. So let's make us a Pathfinder Second Edition character. Things are quite a bit different right from the beginning. All of our attributes start at 10, and we get a number of adjustments to those throughout the character creation process. We begin by choosing an ancestry, which is what they've renamed races, which wasn't really the best term to be using, but I've yet to see a really good alternative. Ancestry is okay. Our options are dwarf, elf, gnome, goblin, halfling, and human. I will say I do have a bit of an issue with the inclusion of goblin. I understand that Paizo has kind of made goblins their thing, and while I do like goblins very much, I just don't really like the idea of monster races as player races. It's the same problem I have with tieflings and dragonborn. Okay, I just plain don't like dragonborn. Anyway, each ancestry provides a +2 bonus to 2 attributes, -2 to another, and +2 to one of the player's choice. Except humans, who just get +2 to 2 attributes of the player's choice. So let's go with human and assign our ability boosts to dexterity and charisma. Then we must also select a heritage, and as a human our options are half-elf, half-orc, skilled, and versatile. So yeah, they're still there, they just got rolled into human. So let's go with half-elf, which gives us low light vision, the elf and half-elf traits, and allows us to select from elf and half-elf ancestry feats in addition to human ones. And speaking of, we get one ancestry feat, and let's take advantage of our half-elf heritage and take the nimble elf feat, which increases our speed from 25 to 30. Our ancestry also gives us 8 hit points, which is actually something I've thought should be a thing for a while, since reasonably a human would just happen to have more hit points than, say, a halfling. And also gives us our starting languages, but we can't do those just yet. Next, we select a background, which is more or less our profession, and we are going to go with entertainer, because it's pretty obvious where I'm going with this character. Our profession gives us a +2 bonus to 2 attributes, one of which must be charisma or dexterity, so let's go with charisma and intelligence. Our background also gives us training in the performance and theater lore skills. Almost every background has a unique lore skill associated with it, and while I don't know when you'd ever use theater lore, I would be really excited if it ever came up. And just since this is going to come up a lot, I will now explain how proficiencies and training work in this system. Things can be either untrained, trained, expert, master, or legendary, each of which provides a bonus, and for trained or higher, your whole damn level. Now, you may recall from my 4th edition video that I felt adding half your level to everything was just artificially inflating the numbers for no reason, so you can probably guess how I feel about this. Anyway, we also get the fascinating performance skill feat. And now on to classes. Our options are Alchemist, Barbarian, Bard, Champion, which is like a Paladin except they don't call them that, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, and Wizard. So basically all the options from 1st edition plus Alchemist. Each class gives a +2 bonus to their key ability score, and obviously we're going with Bard since I don't really like the direction they went with in 5th edition, so I want to see if this one is better. But before we get into all of our Bard stuff, we get 4 more +2 ability boosts, which we will put in Strength, Dexterity, Intelligence, and Charisma. And now that we have our final ability scores, we can determine our modifiers and choose our starting languages, which are common and 1 plus our intelligence modifier additional languages. Our class also gives us an additional 8 hit points. We are trained in Fortitude and Reflex saves, and expert in Will saves, to which we add our Constitution, Dexterity, and Wisdom modifiers. We are also expert in Perception, and trained in Occultism and Performance, plus an additional number of skills equal to 4 plus our Intelligence modifier, and since we already had training in Performance from our background, we get to select a different skill. And then of course we add our attribute modifiers to each skill to get our total skill modifiers. And I would just like to draw specific attention to the athletic skill. The combat maneuver bonus and defense are gone from this edition, and now the combat maneuvers are uses of the athletic skill and are rolled against the target's fortitude or reflex DC, which is the save bonus plus 10. We also gain occult spell casting, so we are trained in occult spell attacks and occult spell DC, both of which are equal to our charisma modifier and proficiency bonus, and in the case of the spell DC, plus 10. We get 2 level 1 spells per day and spells known, so let's take Charm and Summon Fae, which just seems like a terrible idea. We also get 5 occult cantrips, which are spells that we can use unlimitedly. And we also get composition spells, which are special spells that more or less replace the bardic performance ability. The composition spells cost focus points to cast, which are then regained after a short rest. We start with 1 focus point and the counter performance spell, which is basically counter song, as well as Inspire Courage, which more or less functions the same as the bardic performance version and is a composition cantrip that does not require focus points, so we can cast it unlimitedly, and I will get a little more into that later. We also gain a Muse, which I guess inspires us in our bardly ways. There are 3 options, and we're going to go with Maestro, which grants us the Soothe spell, as well as the Lingering Composition feat, which gives us 1 additional focus point, and the Lingering Composition focus spell. And now we need our equipment. All characters, regardless of class, start with 15 gold. So let's get a whip, short bow and 20 arrows, studded leather armor, and an adventurer's pack, which is always an incredibly convenient thing to have and contains all of our adventuring essentials. And finally, a flute, which is my go-to adventuring instrument. They are easy to carry, don't have a bunch of strings to tune, and the sound carries really well, especially in a dungeon. Items now have a bulk rating, which is an abstract measurement of their size and weight, and we can carry an amount of bulk equal to 5 plus our strength modifier without penalty, so no problem there. And now that we have all of our equipment, we can determine our armor class, which is equal to 10 plus our dexterity modifier up to the cap allowed from our armor, which is 3, so no problem, plus our proficiency, which is 3 since we're trained in light armor, and of course the armor bonus, which is plus 2. Our armor also has a -1 check penalty and a strength rating of 12, which means that if our strength score is 12 or higher, we negate the check penalty, which it is, so we do. The attack bonus for our whip and short bow is +5, 3 from our proficiency and 2 from our dexterity. Melee weapons usually add strength, but as a finesse weapon we can use dexterity with our whip. However, we still add strength to the damage, and of course we can use it to make trip and disarm attempts. And then, just as usual, all of the miscellaneous stuff and our class DC, which we are not trained in for some reason, and I will complain about later. And this character is done. Now I would like to briefly discuss the changes made to the actions from 1st edition. Instead of having standard move, swift, and immediate actions, you just have 3 actions and 1 reaction. And the various things you do take 1, 2, or 3 actions, or 1 reaction. So now, for example, if you wanted to, you could use your 3 actions to make 3 attacks, taking an increasing penalty on each attack after the first. And I bring this up because now, instead of activating Bardic Performance as a standard action and then maintaining it as a free action with limited rounds per day, Inspire Courage now requires you to spend an action every round to use it, but also has no limit of rounds per day. I like this way better. I like the idea that it's a thing I can activate every round. I can switch to a different bardic performance easily and then switch back. It's not going to take my whole turn. So that's just my take on it. I obviously have strong opinions on bardic performance. But hey, let's level up this character. Which also brings me to something interesting. You now level up at every 1,000 experience points, with combat-based experience awards being determined by the difference between party level and adversary level, which is a bit more complicated, but also makes giving out non-combat experience rewards much easier, since 30 experience points is always going to have the same value at any level. So yeah, level 2, our proficiencies all go up and we gain our 8 class hit points. Also, this is the last time I'm going to mention those two because they happen at every level. We gain 1 Bard feat, and we are going to go with Bardic Lore, which gives us the Bardic Lore skill, which we can use to recall information on any topic. So basically, all of the knowledge skills, including all of the ones specific to the various backgrounds, and ones that they didn't even think of putting in the book. We also get a skill feat, and we will take Impressive Performance, which lets us substitute performance for diplomacy when trying to make an impression, and we gain 1 more level 1 spell per day and spell known. At level 3, we get 1 general feat, and we will take Incredible Initiative, which gives us a +2 bonus to initiative rolls, which are now made with our perception or other skills in specific circumstances, which is another thing that's kinda weird but kinda makes sense. We also increase our proficiency in reflex saves from trained to expert. We gain 2 level 2 spells per day and known, and we get the signature spells ability, which I guess means that spell levels are now a thing that I have to explain. So spells in Pathfinder 2nd Edition can be cast at various levels, just like in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. However, each level of the spell must be learned individually as a separate spell. Now, signature spells allows us to choose 1 spell of each level and be able to cast that at all levels of the spell without needing to learn additional versions of it. So let's select Summon Fey for level 1 and Sound Burst for level 2, since they can both be heightened to any level. We also gain a skill increase, which allows us to gain training in a new skill, or increase an existing skill from trained to expert. So let's just go to expert in performance. At level 4, we get an additional level 2 spell, plus a Bard feat, so let's go with Triple Time, which gives us the composition cantrip of the same name, and a skill feat, so why not Virtuosic Performer, which gives us a +1 bonus to a specific performance type. And finally, level 5, we get 2 3rd level spells, and of course select a level 3 signature spell, another skill increase, and since we can't choose performance again, we'll increase athletics, an Ancestry feat, and once again we're going to go with Elf, and take Ageless Patience, which gives us a +2 bonus to skill checks if we take twice as long to do them, and 4 more ability boosts. So let's put those in Dexterity, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. However, since our Charisma was 18, the boost only gives us a +1 bonus instead of the usual 2. Which I understand the purpose of, but if they hadn't done that, they could have just gotten rid of the ability scores and just had the modifiers, since everything else is either a +2 or a -2. And that's it, a Pathfinder 2nd Edition character. It does feel somewhat like they were trying to simplify things, but also while still wanting to be the more complex alternative to Dungeons & Dragons. And while some of the stuff works, like having a static value for hit points gained and XP to level up, and breaking up the feats into groups and restricting your options at different levels to cut down on over-specialization. And also they put a lot more functionality into skills, which I know I didn't really get into, but trust me they did, and overall it's a pretty cool thing. But then there's also stuff like adding your level to everything to artificially inflate the numbers, and taking the multi-level spells from 5th edition, but making them function just like the old multiple versions of the same spell. Stuff that just isn't very good. And then there is the class DC, which, as far as I can tell, is basically just the DC for non-spellcasting classes' abilities. But then why not just also make that the spell DC for spellcasters? And I will tell you why. Because the champion uses the class DC and spell DC. They made everything more complicated for a single class. And it's the paladin class, so that's even worse. Also, the book is kind of not good in the writing, and organization. Like, it's not horrible, but certainly not what you should expect from the second biggest fantasy role-playing game. Honestly, I'm not even that confident that I did everything right, since so many of the rules are just scattered throughout the book. Like, once you get used to it, or have someone who is to help you, then yeah, I assume it's fine, but just opening the book and making a character is not a fun experience. Also, this is one of the ugliest character sheets I have ever seen. Honestly, I think the big thing here is I'm kind of disappointed. Like, I am a known Pathfinder fan, and I just expected this to be really good, but it's more so just okay. Like, there's nothing here I can point to and say, this is why this game is better than 5th edition. Other than Paizo never claimed to own a trademark on the word kaiju, but that's not really about 5th edition, that's about Wizards of the Coast. But as always, these are very much just my first impression opinions of the game. I'm sure things go a bit more smoothly once you get into it and learn everything. And I will say, I do like the direction they took the Bard, keeping them performance-focused while also expanding their spellcasting instead of whatever it was 5th edition was trying to do. So, that's it. I'm sure lots of people are gonna be super happy with me in the comments, but thank you for watching, and especially for making it all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more content like the stuff that's floating around the screen right now. You can click on that stuff if you want to. And feel free to suggest other games to Let's Make Us a Character for in the comments, and until next time, keep on rolling.